Hello, beautiful people. It's Lennon. I want to talk about the 5 models of magic because I don't know. I've been researching them a little bit because I guess I'm trying to learn which models I use. And it's not like we only have one, you know, like the magical practitioners. It's not like we utilize just one, okay? We may use more than one, but it's fascinating to see them broken down, and I guess I wanted to go over my findings with you guys. So like I said, there are 5 magical models, and the first one I want to talk about is spiritual, so the spirit model. And the spirit model is basically, when I think spirit model, I think of the shaman. I think of the magical practitioners that use their magic to get to this other world, this world in which these autonomous beings reside, okay? And they do this, they go to this otherworldly place in like a trance-like, you know, state, either by drum work or meditations and things like that. And they get to this other world through this trance, through these altered state of consciousness, I'll say, to get the entities, these whatever entities they're working with, help, you know, help in healing someone, or help in something along those lines of healing, and to aid in their magic, basically, just to aid in whatever magic they are trying to perform. And they want that extra little bit of help from these entities that these magical practitioners believe reside in this other world. Like shamans, even shamans of old and modern day shamans, they use these entities. Like, they're not using them. I think they're utilizing the magic that these entities possess in order to, like, make their magic higher, you know, like it's almost like they're working with something and it makes that ball of magic bigger. So I thought that was really, really cool to think about this other world, and this world in which all these entities reside. And it's like, what a magical world that would be. Now, for me, I do kind of believe that there are some things, like mythical creatures, that reside in a parallel world, okay? I don't mean to get all kinds of like crazy with you guys. But for me, there are certain entities that we cannot see anymore that it does not make sense for them not to have existed at all. Like the Fae, okay? In Iceland, there's a new oracle out that I haven't bought yet because I'm still doing some research. It's called the Ancestor Spirit Oracle, and they've got this card that shows like these like these tall, svelte entities that are transparent, and they're from Iceland. These people in these people in Iceland believe that these entities, these transparent entities, are entities that live in our world, but it's in a parallel world from ours, like just right out of phase. And when I read up on these entities in Iceland and how they believe in this parallel world and how these beings live there and can come over and help, I guess, when called, or I don't know what the ritual involved is, but I thought, oh my God, like, this is the world where the dragons are, okay? Because when I was studying up on mythological creatures, I've always been fascinated by them. I would get lots and lots of like encyclopedia-like works on the creatures. I'm sorry, the sun is in my freaking eye. And I would love reading about them, but some of the accounts, even from long, long ago, would be so vivid. It's like, I know that the imagination is a real fucking thing, okay? I use that shit like it's, like whatever the hell I can think of is real, is manifest. And I do use it in that way, my imagination. So I know that we can conjure up images in our imagination that are so vivid. But there was something about the tales something about, now I know some of these accounts, okay, think of the Loch Ness Monster, where when someone doesn't know something, like you see something come out the water, you don't know what it is. And when you don't know what it is, there's a lot of there may be some fear surrounding that. So it could turn into like what I like to call children's fairy stories, where you plug something kind of spooky onto it to keep the kids away from the lake shore, okay? Or the loch shore, you know, over in Scotland. And which is all fine and good. Some of those lead, you know, some of those accounts can be like, oh, I saw something and I don't know what I saw, so let's just put something spooky on there so that people don't go near it. And that's all fine and good. But there were some accounts of dragons and the fae that have stayed with people for so long that it's like, how can this not have been real at one point? How can these entities not have been here in our realm? And I also think of how us magical practitioners work with certain things when the veils are thin, like at Beltane and Samhain. The veils are thin, and it's, you know, we put a lot of emphasis on the fact that these could be certain ghosts and ancestors, and then there's evil beings that can come through the veil, you know? It's like, but what if the veil is thin because on those days and how the earth is and how the earth is rotated scientifically, if it's just that we can interact with these beings because the parallel worlds are closer to us. Missy, goddamn. So anyway, I've had a lot of thoughts about this other world, this parallel world, this world that holds all of these beings. And it would be so cool to, not as a shaman, okay, because I'm not a shaman, but it would be cool to like try to research further how you might ritualize getting to this place, even for me, because it's not so much that I want to use these entities to make my magic better or to heighten my magic, I'll say. It's more so that I would want to communicate with these with these entities. I want to draw down the dragons. I want to get down in the dirt and put my fingers in the dirt with the fae, and I don't know. It's just one of these things that I've always been fascinated about, this other world. So anyway, that's all the spirit model, okay? I rambled in that one. But in terms of how it's laid out, this particular model about this other world and how you can get there through altered state of consciousness, and then it may or may not be an actually parallel world. This could be any kind of world in your mind's eye. I look at it different than the way it's portrayed. I'm looking at it as something other than shamanism. Still fascinating. Okay. The next model is the energy model. This, to me, in terms that I could understand, it's life force. Literally everything nature made, okay? That includes humans, okay? It includes humans, animals, plants, everything. We are all nature made, and we are all divinely made and divinely present here on this earth, on this earthly realm. And much kind of like the spirit realm, I believe that we are in this world as these beings that reside here. So if you kind of turn it around, what if the entities in this other world, that the shamans call it, this other world, this parallel world in the energy model, are looking at us like we look at them? They're like, oh, those are just those beings on earth, on that plane of existence. They all have prana, chi, whatever you want to call it. They have a life force within them. Wherever you think that the life force resides in you, okay? Because it's different for all these belief systems. Like, there's like the, you know, in Zen, I think it's like the heart center, and then there's the soul. And anyway, they're located in different parts of the body, and I think of Kundalini always when I think of this, like this, you know, divine snake that lives at the bottom of my spine. Ugh, it's so rich. Okay, some of these belief systems are so rich with this model of this life force. I really like this model talking about every nature thing, every nature-made thing that's naturally here has a life force. I mean, how beautiful is that? And anyway, the energy model is us using our life force somehow. And it's I kind of like the analogy I like to put here is the brain, okay? There's so much percentage of the brain that we don't even use, okay? What is with this hair won't stay in my, I got so much hair, people. It won't stay up in my, these wispies keep falling down and itching the back of my neck. And I like thinking of this in terms of the brain. Like when we don't use, like, what is it, like 60% of our brain? Like we have so much in the brain that will hold information for us and process the information, but then we don't use it. We can't tap into it because that's not how we're wired. We're not made that way. And the life force, I believe, is the exact same way. Like literally, we've got this life force. We may be able to tap out a spark here or there, but it's the real magical practitioners, the ones that really know how to get there to their heart center, to sit with themselves in the silence, to get to those altered state of consciousness. I believe it's those people that can access more of a percentage. And not so much that you have to be super intelligent, to get there, to get to this life force, to be able to utilize it. It's not like I think you have to be some sort of superhuman, okay? It just probably takes practice, like meditating. And so the energy is a difference in the spirit because you're using your own life force. You're using the life force of all nature-made things. Like for me, I always love thinking of magic like ley lines. Like there's pockets of more energy in one spot of the world that has more life force, right? And it's laid out like longitude and latitude, these ley lines. And you just have to you have to figure out how to see this energy, how to perceive this energy on the earth. And so, like with me, I use storm magic. That has high energy, right? That's an energy pocket that I can like siphon that energy from. So I kind of think of it in that way, like we're tapping into the earth's chi, or the earth's life force, this virilitas in Latin, and this power of nature-made things. We tap into it as a way to plug in, literally like we're a toaster and we plug us into the wall. And we have so much electricity in us that I like to think of it that way in the science terms, because that makes the most sense to me for this energy model. It's almost like the earth. You have to put it through the lens of vitalization. You have to be able to unlock the places that hold this kind of energy for you, and you can feel it. You can intuit it. I think that you can tap into your intuition to be able to figure out where these energy pockets are, and then somehow ritualize giving and receiving. Because I don't believe that you just want to, you're not Winifred from Hocus Pocus. You don't want to just suck the lives out of everything, but you want to be able to give back too. And that I think it's a give and take with Earth. And we've forgotten how to do that, a lot of us. The give and take there should be balanced. And I think that the Earth hasn't been getting it back from us. So I think of that too. The art in this model, this energy model, like I said before, is being able to see and perceive this energy and then knowing how to use it. That's the art. It's like a skill. It's a skill to be able to tap in and get and be able to see this energy that the earth is providing from their own, like every living thing. I have it. That piece of bamboo down in my yard has it. The grass has it. My Missy has it. It's like we've got this life force. We've got it. What are we gonna do about it? Are we going to use it? Are we able to recognize it when it's low, or when it's too high and we're all like this? And it's like, how do we get all that out? Usually by exercise, or dancing, or laughing. I found that really, like, belly laughing. Find something that really makes you belly laugh. is a way to get out that excess energy too. It doesn't always, lots and lots of people have that, oh, run it out on the treadmill. It's like, I've got bad knees. I can't run on a treadmill. Can't just, not everybody's capable of just getting on a treadmill, okay? But I found that dancing in any form, you don't have to do it on your feet. I had an aunt that was in a wheelchair that just, she loved to just bob. And she didn't care. She was good at it. She loved it. She loved to dance in her wheelchair. So dancing is a high love of mine anyway, but belly laughing. Somehow I'm using my belly laugh. You know how it can hurt, belly laughing, and then it leads to crying. So it's like those good, solid belly laughs are what I like. Sometimes if I'm in that mode and I can find something that makes me belly laugh, it gets out all that excess energy too. So it's like there's a skill in it. So anyway, I'm rambling. I'm like already on, and I'm only on 2 models. I'm already like 20 minutes in, and this is like 2 models later. I like this quote from an article that I read, like just to end about the energy model. It says, the magician is more of an energy dancer than a fence rider. Now, when I think of fence rider, I think of hedge rider, and that's riding the hedge line. Okay, when you think of hedges, they're boundaries, okay? The hedges. So a fence rider is a hedge rider, someone that's riding that fence between the worlds, and that's the spirit model. So the magician is more of an energy dancer. So we're using the energy and trying to kind of finagle and twirl it around, and then the fence rider just rides that fence like a badass witch bitch on a broom. Anyway, then the next model is the psychological model. So that's using your brain. Now, it says this model addresses the notion of the unconscious or the subconscious. Now, for me, that could mean so much, but I guess reading up on Jung, okay, like some of us witches that are fascinated by the psyche we read Jung. I think that by tapping into the subconscious and the unconscious, whatever you want to call it, it's about tapping into the collective unconscious. It's about tapping into your own unconscious. And all of that means is being able to perceive patterns, being able to see the archetypes, figuring out what they are. I think that's why tarot is so fucking powerful with the psychological model, is because they're there. I can read a book that has nothing to do with tarot and find the tarot journey because it's there. And it's about being able to, perceive that, but it's about unlocking the symbolism in all of that, in your dreams, right? Locking in to the symbols that are present. I think that's the skill in the psychological model, is you can't let the fear stop you from getting to there. Like in terms of shadow, you have to figure out if this is even something that you can do by yourself, because I do believe that getting outside help when needed is like, yes, like we probably all need therapy. I think that the mind holds so much magic in and of itself that we have to be able to figure out what it's trying to interpret for us, whether by dreams or bouts with deja vu or the shadow. When we have certain reactions to things, it's like, well, instead of letting it go because we don't want to deal with it or because it's too embarrassing or too shameful, it's like when you're by yourself, you're just that, you're by yourself. So you might as well deal with all your crap, So that's the psychological model. Anyway, let me not ramble on this one too, so let's keep going. The last real model, I'll say, because the fifth one is like an amalgamation of them all, and it's like a rule book is what I want to say. So the last real model is the informational model. Now the informational model, is basically the energy model has to have an opposite. Okay? Like, energy doesn't know. A cloud doesn't know what the weather's gonna do. The cloud just floats. Okay? A wave doesn't know what the ocean is doing. It's just gonna crest, and it's gonna crest and fall, you know? Or is cresting falling? I think crest sounds like peak. So it's gonna peak, come back down. So a wave is gonna do what it wants to do. A tree is gonna just bend and sway with the wind. It's not thinking, right? It doesn't have to have the information because it's just doing its own thing with their own chi and their own life force. But for humans and for the beings on our plane of existence, on our earthly realm that have brains, we need the information to be able to, for our brains to be able to process the information. We do, at some level, need to let the brain do what it's going to do, but then it has to be able to process certain things. And if our brain was just full of life force, it would just do whatever it was going to do, think what it was going to think. But because our brains tell our bodies what to do, it tells my arm to move up, it tells my speech how to talk. The brain is basically it controls everything, right? It's like the control room of the body that is me. And with the energy model, it's got the energy in there. It's siphoning off, sensors here and there and here and there. But it's the information that we have to give it to. Now, for me, I always think, I think that we give the brain this informational model, this information with our 5 senses. Sight, whatever we see, the brain's processing. Smelling, tasting, hearing, touching. Those are what's giving the brain back the information. To not just be up there with its life force seemingly doing nothing, even though it's going to still do stuff. But it's basically this notion that energy itself doesn't know anything. In order for certain things to be utilized in our human capacity, there needs to be an information. There needs to be some kind of information put upon it to be able to utilize the information. And it can be tapped at any time. The informational model can be tapped at any time. Lots of people talk about downloads, like instant download. You can have an instant thought because your brain's using both the energy model and the informational model to work in tandem to make something pop out, and it's instant. It's not contained like energy. And I think that energy, like in a storm's not contained per se, but it's bound by that place that the storm is, like that state, right? Or that city, that couple of cities. And it's moving, yes, but it's just it's contained there. It's not, when a storm comes, it doesn't rip the whole country all at once. So see, there is still a containment there. So anyway, there's boundaries on energy, but there's not ever on information. You can get instant downloads, and there's not a boundary on there. So I find that fascinating. You can access it from any state of consciousness. And I think that you don't have to tap into an altered state of consciousness for the psychological model either. I believe that sometimes people have gone to these other states of consciousness in order to get a little bit more juice in their unconscious work, but you don't have to do that. So anyway, I hope all this was easy. I hope that I condensed all this enough to chat with you guys. But the last model, like I said, is called the meta model. It's the 5th model, but it's basically just the rules of each. It's the rule book. That it's not absolute truth. That none of these hold absolute truth. That the truth lies in knowing. The truth lies in the skill. The truth lies in the skill to be able to utilize multiples, or how to utilize just one, or how to blend them to make this new model that works the best for you. The art in the meta model is using your whole self, your whole mind, body, spirit, to figure out which models to use at what point and with which others. So that's the meta model, is that you have to learn and you have to figure out the skills to be able to find, see, and perceive these models, and then turn it all around and utilize them. That's the secret. That's the rules. And like I said, there's a skill in getting to all of these. So, let me know what you think of the models of magic, or the magical models. Much love.